At Railroads University, we begin all of our presentations, whether they're in person or online like we are today, with an acknowledgement of the traditional lands. Railroads University's campus is located on the traditional lands of the Quisepsum and Lekwungen ancestors and families. It's with great gratitude that we live, learn, and work where past, present, and future scopes of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, staff, and faculty come together. This is actually a great time to test out that chat box. So again, looking at that block bar below, if you give the chat box button a click, your chat box will appear. And please let us know, where in the world are you joining us from today? What sector are you currently working in? And if you came with any specific questions, pop them in the chat box. We'll of course leave time for questions at the end, but we're thrilled to get those questions rolling in now. So as I mentioned, we're here today to talk about human security and peace building here at Railroads University. So we have a Master of Arts program and a graduate diploma in human security and peace building. My name is Selena Kunar. I'm an education specialist here on campus, and I'm so excited to have Dr. Kenneth Christie, who is the professor and program head of our human security and peace building programs. Thanks for being here, Ken.
Thanks, Selena.
We'll hear from Ken again in just a few slides when we dive right into the program. Before we do that, this slide is just a quick intro of how we're going to spend our time together today. So if we got to know each other a little bit better already, please keep connecting in the chat box. We're going to do a quick spin over to the RRU student experience on our next slide. Of course, hit into the program overview itself. Leave time to run through our admission requirements and application process. And of course, leave time for question and conversations. But again, as questions come up for you, pop them in the chat box and we can move through those together throughout the session as well. So with that, we'll kick off by sharing a quick snapshot of Railroads University. So this program is what we call blended, which means that our learners are going to spend some time online learning in a virtual environment, but also coming to campus to connect face-to-face in our physical space. We're thrilled that here at Railroads University, we've been able to maintain small class sizes and a conversational way of teaching to allow our classrooms to be think tanks of sorts, to ensure that learning can really be a way of life on our campus. You'll notice quickly as a learner here at Railroads, we are not about the one-way lectures or the furious note-taking. Our classrooms are filled with deep conversations and sharing of diverse perspectives. Being a university for working professionals means that our students are able to bring the challenges that are happening right now in their workplaces into the classroom. And that's how we ensure your life is informing your learning. There's no divide between theory and practice. We're doing real world problem solving in real time. And those classrooms are a really exciting space because they're filled with people like your faculty. So folks like Ken, who are scholar practitioners. So not only academic experts in their fields, but who are out in the world putting into practice what they're bringing into our classrooms, all the way to the folks who make up your cohort. So your cohort is this very mindfully created group of folks who bring together diverse backgrounds, both professionally, academically, personally, that you move through your program together from start to finish. As mentioned, this program is what we call a blended delivery model. And that's because here at Railroads, we pioneered this style of learning where we bring together the best of the online learning experience and on-campus opportunities to connect. We believe that the education we provide here should be powerful enough to transcend location, to ensure that your life is happening while you are learning. Nothing needs to be paused for this type of education because it is complementing everything that's happening for you right now. So now that I've gotten all excited about Railroads University, let's talk about the programs themselves. So I'm going to pass the microphone over to Ken to tell us why human security and peace building.
Thanks so much, Selena. So, why human security and peace building? Well, I don't think there's ever been a time, or probably will be a better time, to explore human security and peace building because what we're trying to do is respond to the increasing demand for leadership in humanitarian assistance, in social reconstruction, in conflict management and peace building in international contexts. But not only international contexts, we have a lot of human security problems in Canada. So many of our students also work in Canada, they work domestically, but many of our students also go overseas to countries in Asia, in Latin America, in Africa, etc., to work. We see peace building very broadly. It's a broad concept which emphasizes social transformation, which integrates short term development initiatives into long term sustainable peace processes. So what we're trying to do is, in some ways, and I hate to use this term, but it's a term that people say to me, well, what your program is really doing is trying to save the world. And in some ways, it is. Of course, we know that we can't really save the world, but we are. It's an exemplary program in trying to do that and in trying to make change work and make real social change, political change, economic change for people within these countries. Next slide, Selena. So to give you an overview of the human security and peace building programs, we have two basic programs. We have a Master of Arts program, which is what most people go for. It's about 2 years long. It's 36 credits. It's online with 3 residencies. And the residency is when you actually come to campus for 2 weeks and meet your fellow cohort, engage in webinars, very intensive webinars, two a day with your class. So there's 2 mandatory 2 week residencies, one in the first year, one in the second year, and there is an optional 1 week residency if you'd like to do that. The second program is a graduate diploma, which is 1 year, 18 credits. It's online again, but it has 1 residency. You have to come to campus for 1 mandatory 2 week residency. Now, the interesting thing about the graduate diploma, of course, is if you get your diploma and you say, well, really, I'd like the master's degree, and it's only 1 year more, you certainly have the option of transferring into the master's degree. Thanks. So the program at a glance, we have a lot of preparatory courses. We have an introduction to academic integrity, for instance. We have some required courses like foundations of human security and peace building, development and human security, international law and global institutions, etc., which you can see on your screen there. But we have 3 different tracks, and the we have a thesis track, for instance, which you can choose from. So we have three different tracks within the program which people can basically choose from. The thesis track involves an advanced research methods course and an actual thesis. Now, a lot of people want to take the thesis course or the thesis track because they may want to do a PhD later on. They may want to go into further education and complete a terminal PhD program, for instance. Or they may just be really interested in a piece of research about something that they've been curious for a long time and they want to gain more knowledge and they want to go into more detail. So that's more for a sort of research oriented program. The course-based track is simply that is that you just go through the entire program, you take all the courses that are available in the program, and you can mix and match some of these courses in the second year, of course, with electives. And basically, you come out program having done all the courses. Now that's for people who are saying, well, I don't really have time to do a thesis, or I don't really have time to do maybe an internship or something like that. I'm really busy working, so I just want to take all the courses, finish my degree. And a lot of people do that as well. And then thirdly, we have a course-based track with an internship, which is basically the same as a course-based track, but we have the additional idea of giving you an internship. Now, some students say, I want to get a little bit of experience. I want to go abroad. I want to work with an NGO in Africa or Asia or Latin America or elsewhere. And they say, I want to do this internship maybe for 4 to 6 months, and say I want to work with a human rights organization in South Africa, for instance, or I want to work with an NGO in Taiwan, or I want to go to Thailand and work with a refugee center, for instance. The sky's the limit, and the options are unlimited. And that's for people who feel that they may not have as much experience within the world of NGOs or humanitarian action, etc. And they just want to get that little bit of experience so they can put it on their CV. So we offer these 3 different tracks, and I guess in many ways it's really up to you which one you want to do, which one fits in best with your life and your lifestyle, and what you want to get out of it at the end of it. So we have a whole bunch of sample elective options, foundations of policy and practice in humanitarian action, ethno-political conflict in the Canadian context, etc., professional practice in conflict and change management. One of the things about the electives, if you would like to take these electives in your second year, is that we have 2 other programs in the School of Humanitarian Studies. One is a program called Disaster and Emergency Management, and the other program is called Conflict Analysis and Management, CAM. And these 2 programs offer out these electives, if you like, to give you a taste of what's available, because we believe that our programs are essentially interdisciplinary. That is, if you take something in the conflict and analysis and management program, you will learn something that will help you in human security and peace building. And similarly, if you take a course in a disaster and emergency management program, you will learn something that will help you in human security and peace building, and vice versa for all the programs. So you may be really interested in that. You may say, well, I just don't want to take everything in human security and peace building. I want to try some other ideas out, right? Say, so maybe psychosocial interventions, managing stress, trauma, and loss, because that would really help me when I'm working with refugees, for instance, or wherever you are, or whatever you're doing. So the electives are basically there to provide you with a broader look at things, with a more diverse, if you like, way of looking at the world. And that would be really, we feel that's really interesting for you. And that's something that the students really, really like, that they're not just taking everything in human security and peace building, that they're borrowing from other disciplines like disaster and emergency management, like conflict analysis and management, to kind of supplement their education in some ways. Thanks, Selena. So here's how to apply, and I think I hand it back over to Rhonda at this stage, right?
Thanks so much, Ken, and for giving us that whirlwind tour of human security and peace building at Rural Roads. As Ken highlighted, there's so many different ways you could go about completing this program or customizing it to your own interests. So if you have any questions about any of that, pop it in the chat box. We're just a few slides away from being able to answer some frequently asked questions or questions any of you have. So while folks are thinking of things that might be of interest to them, let's talk a little bit about the application process. Here at Rural Roads, we have 2 different admission pathways, so standard admissions and flexible admissions. Let's kick off by talking about standard admissions. So for these programs, standard admissions looks at students who have a 4-year or comparable undergraduate degree in a relevant and related field with a minimum GPA of a B+. You'll notice that little asterisk by related field. So I put on this slide what that relates to. And in short, what we're asking for is, how do you think your academic background, how do you think your professional experiences, your personal lived journeys, how do you think that is relevant to a program like this? We'll talk in a few slides about what the supplementary documents look like, but a great opportunity for you to have to tell us about the relevance of your background in relation to our admissions process is in the personal statement, but more on that in a few slides. So on this slide here, we have flexible admissions. It's such a big part of rural roads, this flexible admissions piece, because as mentioned, in our learning, we try to exemplify that learning is not separate from life. It is all happening at the same time as it should be. And we reflect that commitment in our admissions process. So for folks who may not have a traditional academic background, but who have been working in the field for an extensive number of years and have gained experience and learning in that capacity, we recognize that here at Rural Roads, and we know there's a place for you in our classrooms to not only be enriched by the learning, but enrich others in the program as well. So I'm going to read these bullet points off because there's a few ways flexible admissions can work. So one way is for applicants who meet the degree requirement, but perhaps not the GPA requirement, they'd be required to have a minimum of 5 years of relevant professional experience. Folks without an undergraduate degree will normally require at least 10 years of work experience with a minimum of 2 years of relevant professional experience in a leadership or management position, or of course, an equivalent combination of education and experience. I'll note we have a double asterisk happening there, and that's right beside leadership and management. So we'll share that moving through our application process, experience in a leadership or management position is considered on the basis of a holistic review of your career progression. So that means we're not only looking for things like a title being supervisor, manager, administrator, but where are opportunities for you can share that you're guiding a team or a group of others to a shared goal? Are you providing supervisory functions, signing responsibilities, contributing to organizational change, or implementing organizational vision or mission? So lots of different ways that we look at leadership experience here at Rural Roads. So if you have any questions about your experience and what that could mean, connect with us. We always have folks who, they can kind of self-select themselves out. And more often than not, it's those people who actually are the perfect candidates for our programs because you have been doing this work and you just didn't realize it. I'll note too that flexible admissions is assessed on a case-by-case basis. So if you have any questions about anything related to admissions, connect with us because we want to make sure that your experience moving through the application process is supported and reflective of the uniqueness of this flexible admissions. I'll share as well on the slide at the bottom bullet, you'll see that we like to share that flexible admission applicants will be required to take academic writing and critical thinking. This is a well-loved course on our campus. We offer it at least every month, if not a few times a month. And that's because many of our programs utilize this course as an opportunity to help set up their incoming students with the foundational skills in academic writing and critical thinking to make sure you have the tools to enter the program and dive right into the learning and connecting with your classmates. And you're not at that time in the middle of being in this new experience, trying to think of, okay, what is APA citation again? In this course, we make sure you have those skills before you head into the program so we set you up for the best success. So how do you actually apply? Well, on the slide, we have a very simple look at that. As with most things these days, it begins with an online application. So our online application comes with a fee of $128.81. And once that online application is in, we then look for some supporting documents. So for this program, we'll look for things like official transcripts, personal statement, a detailed resume, or two letters of reference. Our website is a wonderful resource to help you understand some practical things like how long are each of these documents supposed to be? How do I submit them? But also some more nuanced things like, so what exactly should you be including when you're building these kind of documents? So as mentioned, we're going to come back to that personal statement because on our website, we have some wonderful guiding questions that can help you better understand what we're hoping to get to know about you. Why are you interested in this program? How do you think you can add your strengths to this cohort? How do you think this program can help develop your strengths in the field of human security and peace building? So head to the website for more tips and tricks like that. We have stuff for the detailed resume as well. So different categories we'd like included in that resume. And of course, things like who your referees can be as well. But of course, we're always just an email or phone call away to help support you through that process. We are just around the corner from our 2022 start date. So this program will begin January 10th, 2022. And our application deadline actually closes today, but we had a wonderful chat. Myself, Ken, and Rhonda. Rhonda, you might have already noticed in our chat box, popping in some wonderful links, exploring that if you are interested in this program and you're committed to starting in January, get that online application in, send us an email, and let's support you through getting those documents in on time. If you're here thinking about future planning, we do have our 2023 deadline noted as well. So our program would begin January 9th, 2023, putting its application deadline August 31st, 2022. This is a great time for me to share that at Rural Roads, we do something called rolling admissions. So we're not actually waiting until that August 30th, 2022 to look at everyone who's applied. Instead, once your online application is in, as well as your supporting documents, we begin adjudicating your file and letting you know about your seat in the program. So that online application is really important because that'll signal to us which intake you're interested in pursuing a seat within. So with our January deadline around the corner, please get that online application in if you're interested in starting with us in January. Financial aid. So we get some wonderful questions about financial aid. So we always like to put up this slide and give you the direct phone lines to our team and their website where they have a bunch of different links noted. So our financial aid and award specialists, they have their fingertips on resources both internal and external to Rural Roads to help fund your continued education, but of course can answer questions around things like loans, awards, research scholarships, or any other types of funding as well. As with most universities, this office is not as visited as they should be. So please connect with these guys if you're interested in pursuing an education at Rural Roads, because you never know what sort of financial supports you might be eligible for. And speaking of awesome people here at Rural Roads, we talked about Rhonda already, and Rhonda is just one example of the wonderful team we have here at Rural Roads to help answer any questions you might have about these programs or any others as well. So if you're joining us from within Canada, you can connect with Rhonda and her team at learn.more@ruralroads.ca. And if you're joining us from outside of Canada, Rhonda's counterparts in our international admissions and registration team would be more than happy to help at learn.more.international@ruralroads.ca. So with that, we have come to a close on the formal presentation for today, but I have a few chat box notifications. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing our screen here and open up our chat box to see some of the questions that may have come in. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the top. I see some of these questions have been answered already. So we have a question, a great question. What kind of positions or jobs do graduates move into? And we have Ken, who provided an answer in the chat box. So I'll read that out, Ken, but then I'll leave time if you want to get on the mic as well. So Ken shared all sorts of jobs. One of our former students is an MP in Parliament now. I have other students who have worked in humanitarian NGOs in Thailand, Poland, and South Africa, to name a few. The sky is the limit is international and even domestic NGO work. Many of our students have worked for the United Nations as well. Ken, was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, students who go into the program can get all sorts of jobs in the public sector, of course, and in the private sector. We have lots of students who are working for the Canadian government. We have lots of students who go on and do a PhD and go into academia. We have lots of students who travel all over the world and have been traveling all. I have one student who started out her career in Thailand, working for the United Nations and dealing with trafficking, for instance, in Thailand. She then went to Nepal to do similar work with another NGO, and now she's in Poland working for the Organization of Security in Poland, working in the hate crimes division. I mean, it's a kind of we have students that are going all over the world doing these kinds of jobs. So if that's the kind of job that you're really interested in, this is like a perfect degree because it transfers into multiple international contexts. One of our best students, Stephanie Perham, works for the United Nations High Commission on Refugees, doing amazing work in Uganda. She's saved hundreds of thousands of lives in Uganda working for the UNHCR in the refugee context and flying out to complex emergencies. Uh, but also, there's lots of people who are happy to work kind of desk jobs and do really important work as well in humanitarian areas. So there's no shortage of jobs for this kind of degree, and whether that's something you want to go into or not, it's a very powerful option, you know.
And Ken, thanks so much for mentioning Stephanie. We actually
Mm.
did a webinar with Stephanie where we
Yeah.
just talked to her about her experience in the program. How did that parlay into her career as she moved forward? And then the work she was doing now and the work Ken had mentioned. So, what I'll
Mm.
do is I'll actually include that recording link in the follow up email from today, which will also include the recording link from today's webinar as well.
I mean, one of our former students, Lauren Oates, who graduated from Human Security and Peacebuilding many years ago, she went on to do her PhD at University of British Columbia. And then she set up an NGO for women and girls in Afghanistan. And she's heavily involved in the education of women and girls in Afghanistan. And does incredible stuff like TED Talks, for instance. You can go on and check out Laura Notes and her TED Talks on social media. So it's an amazing kind of um, highly experienced people getting this incredible experience, and they're going on and they're working it into their careers. So it's really quite remarkable.
We also have a webinar with Lauren we did recently, exploring her experience in the program and again, how that moved her forward. But we've been so lucky to have Lauren come back. We've been hosting a series of webinars to explore the current situation in Afghanistan. And for our first episode, we were thrilled to have Lauren join us and share from her vantage point how we move forward and what's going on in the area. So if you'd like to see her in action, both from a alumni perspective, we'll include that link, but as a real world actor and actioner in her space, we'll include that link as well, because it's really exciting to see her show up in all these different ways. I see we have, a great question that's answered. So again, I'll read the question and the answer. So the question here was, I'm interested in international conflict/strategy and was curious where we can find bios of professors that provide these thesis mentorship. Do we have to have a thesis proposal completed prior to applying? And then Ken shared, we only need a thesis application going into year 2 of the program, so you have lots of time. Always good to get it done early. And we have a SharePoint site which lists all of the bios of people who could supervise the thesis. And we have lots more connections as well. Anything else you want to add to that one, Ken?
Well, I just say, I mean, I've been in academia and working in universities, etc., for about 35 years now. And you know, I worked in the United States I worked in Singapore for 6 years teaching. I worked in South Africa for 2 years. I worked in Norway for 4 years. I worked in Dubai for 7 years, and I've been in Canada for 12 years. So I know people all over the world, and there's no shortage of people to supervise your thesis, and no shortage of fantastic expertise out there. So we have really, really good connections in the program. Uh, if you need a supervisor, if you need a committee member for your thesis, if that's the route you decide to go down. So there's absolutely no problem with that. If you need to do some work on the Middle East, we have so many people that can help you out and work with you. And really, that's quite unusual because a lot of universities don't have that just immediate grasp of the expertise that we have in some ways because we have such an international program and such an international group of scholar practitioners who are all over the world, and I could call on them very easily to do the work. Yeah.
And I'll share, while Rural Roads is wonderful in that space, having a program head like Ken has changed the landscape of a program like this. If you have been following or checking out the different special topic webinars we do, those are filled with Ken's colleagues, connections, friends, alumni. So that's just like a little way you can taste the reach of this program, Ken's network, and some of the topics that we explore. So if you have any questions, I see Ken has popped his email in the chat box. So if there is something that's coming to mind already, what you're hoping to explore, where you're hoping to explore, and you're wanting to make sure there's those supports within the program to help you do that, let's connect, let's chat. It looks like that may have brought us to the last question. So I'm just going to highlight some of the links that Rhonda has shared in the chat box to give anyone who might be typing a few extra seconds to get their questions in. So I'm just going to do a quick scroll up here, and I see that Rhonda has shared links to our admission requirements, academic writing and critical thinking course, application requirements, of course, the program itself. Thanks so much, Wanda. Ways you can contact our financial aid office via email, or a link to book an appointment with them directly. That's awesome. Wanda's also shared a link for you to explore research that has been done through the School of Humanitarian Studies. So if you are interested in that thesis option, please take a click at that link and give what you're interested in a search in our search bar, and you'll be able to see the different topics that our students have done around that. Rhonda's also shared a link to our program faculty, and then a link to our YouTube playlist with all of the webinar recordings we talked about today. Thanks so much, Rhonda. So with that, it looks like we've wrapped up with some extra time to enjoy our lunch today. So Ken, before we're off, is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I'd just like to wish everyone all the best in making their decisions. It's a really important decision, and you have to think about it. But if you are interested in getting into the program very quickly, the deadline is coming up pretty soon. But if even if you're a little bit late, you could maybe just write and say, I really like to apply for the January slot, but I'm sorry I'm a little bit late, but we will try and consider it. So don't let that put you off.
Amazing. Thanks, Ken. And thanks all of you guys for being here today. We wish you a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where in the world you're joining us from or watching today's recording. And we hope we have an opportunity to chat with you again soon. Bye, everyone.
All the best. Take care. Bye.